Now what I'll do is I'll display the value of my variable sname and the values for inum. Okay, now let's run this script and see what output I get. So as I initialized sname with Ame is being displayed over here. But now if you see for inum, I have not initialized anything. Okay, but my script is running fine, there is no error in it, but there is nothing displayed in it. That is, the value is empty. So what do I understand from this? The one thing which I understand from this is VBScript, even if you don't assign any value to your variable, still you won't get any error. Okay, you can declare a variable and it's okay if you don't use it in your script. There will be no error message which will be displayed. Okay, so it's perfectly fine. Now why I showed you this example is, let's say I want to use my variable somewhere. Okay, I'm displaying a message box sname. Now suppose I want to use inum somewhere. Okay, so let's say inum, I'm assigning some value to inum as 345. Okay, now what happens is during coding accidentally I write inum as inumber. Okay, I forget that the variable which I had named was inum. Instead I write inumber. I assign the value for inumber. Okay, now what will happen if I use the same inum in somewhere else in any of my code? So the thing is that we'll face an error since inum is having empty value at this point of time, because the value which I'm supposed to assign to inum, I have assigned it to inumber 345. So it can happen in any case. For example, even for iRow count, suppose at some point of time I'm getting the iRow count value from a data table, from a web table, right? Like I had shown you before, we have this program data table.get row count and we put it in iRow count. Okay, so there's some value in iRow count. Now suppose what happens is accidentally I write the variable spelling is wrong. I write iRow cnt instead of count, and in my further script I use iRow count as iRow count. Okay, so I'm not making any mistake in this while proceeding further with the scripting part. So now what will happen when I display my iRow count? In this case I'm just displaying my iRow count, but let's say if you use this iRow count somewhere else, then there'll be an issue. So let's say I'm putting some value to my row. You know that the data table.get row count by default fetches the value from the global data table, and I've added one row to it. Okay, just random value. So the iRow count value will be 1, and accidentally I've used cnt instead of count. So this variable now has 1. Okay, it's a new variable which has been assigned. Now when I use iRow count somewhere else, this time I'm using it perfectly fine. The spelling is perfectly fine. So when I run this script, what will happen? Ame is being displayed properly, but here if you see, iRow count is showing the value empty. Now this is because I have assigned it to the wrong variable. So this is, although we have the benefit of directly we can initializing the value for any variable using VBScript, there is also a disadvantage that in case we make some spelling mistake in our variable, then a new variable will be created, like iRow cnt in our case. So a new variable will be created altogether and the old variable will be neglected. So in order to avoid this, there is a feature which is available with VBScript. That is to declare it option explicit at the beginning. So what option explicit does is, it says that you can use the initialize the variable anywhere in your script, but before initializing you have to always declare it using dim. Okay, so you have to always declare a variable before initializing it or using it in your script. So now let's see what happens when I run this script. So now see, there's a runtime error. Now it's saying that the variable is undefined. We have not defined this variable. So I've ran the same script again. Earlier we didn't face the error, but this time we are facing the error because I've mentioned option explicit at the beginning. Now option explicit, what it does is, it will, while executing, script will encounter option explicit, then it will verify that all the three variables have been declared. Then moving to the third line, it will assign the value Ame to s name, but it will also make sure that it has been declared, so there's no issue with it. Then moving to the fifth line, it will display s name, no problem with that. Then moving to 8th line, now what QTP sees is it has to fetch a value from the data table. It does that, and it has to put it in a variable, that is iRow count. Now QTP will see that iRow CNT is nowhere declared in dim, and therefore it will throw an error over here. So it's a very good coding practice, because now you have just 3 variables, but in your project you can have 20-30 variables, wherein there's a possibility that there will be some confusion with the name, and maybe you unknowingly create an error or spelling mistake in your variable initialization, and wrong variable will be used in your script. Therefore the entire script may go wrong, the output will be wrong. So when you declare option explicit and in the beginning of the script, even if you make some mistake with the spelling of the variable, you'll face a runtime error, and you'll come to know that you have not declared that variable, that is, you have made some spelling mistake with the variable. Now moving forward, I declared a name, 3 variables, okay. So at this point QTP doesn't know what is the type of the variable. When I'm assigning the value Ame to s name in double quotes, QTP considers s name as string, okay. So what I'll do is I'll remove the other part of the code. Now what we'll do is we'll declare a new variable, that is array. Now what is an array? Array is nothing but a series of memory that is allocated to a variable, and it can store multiple data based on the index. So simple example of array is, let's say I open a Excel sheet. When I declare an array, I say that the array has the size 3. So what does it mean? Array has a size 4, okay. So 4 places are allocated in memory to my array.